Latest Cat Cami chart. I was surprised DJ bottom 5. Wait, did Cat Cami come up with another one? Let me see. The one I see is the master chart. This one right here. I see this one. Most games are gonna have like the vast majority of players around gold and platinum, but it's crazy that it's not like platinum is just heavily stacked with the most right now. So if you're in plat, don't worry, you're average. You are average, my friend. You're nothing spectacular, but you are average. Unranked. Okay, so people get to masters and just stop playing. They stop playing ranked. I have seen a lot of players like that. Like if you go to Battle Hub, join a random server and just start looking at people's profiles. A lot of them are, they just reach master and they stop playing ranked. They just go in Battle Hub and play around with their fucking Ninja Turtles outfit. There's also a lot of accounts that, you know, players have, or a lot of characters that players have that you reach the master in a previous season and just haven't touched it. Like most of the characters right now, most of my characters are in master, but they're unranked, because I haven't used them at all this season. So this makes sense. I think that's probably gonna be a huge chunk of these numbers. AKA they're scrubs, they're bad. Bro, there's more players that are under 1300 MR than there are, what is 1900 and above. Damn. So I guess I don't like this bar right here. I don't think it tells us a lot, because there are a lot of just characters from players that, you know, you reach master in previous season, you never touch them again. I don't know, unless we have a detailed breakdown of how many of those characters exist here. Or hold on, the data was filtered to take only the highest ranked character for each player. Okay, so this is per account. Never mind. So it's not like this is factoring in multiple characters for each account. So these are unique accounts. So this means either players just reach master and stop playing ranked, period. They hit their goalposts, like that's what they wanted to do. They did the grind, they got up there, and then they just stopped. Or they just hit it previous seasons and just stopped playing in general. You know, this number could indicate players that just left Street Fighter. They've gotten to master in the previous season, previous rank session, and then just stopped playing. So I'll disregard this one. I think this one is interesting though. 1400 to 15, 15 to 16. So most people are around that range, like 14 to 16. Give or take, which makes sense, because I think reaching master, it's not necessarily difficult. If you invest enough time, you'll get there. But the problem is, like, once you reach there, since this is when the MR system kicks in, your losses impact you way more than they do in previous ranks, right? Like in Diamond, you could have a higher, like a really low win percentage and, you know, get more losses than you do wins, but still climb. That's still possible in Diamond, Plat, Gold, Silver. But once you reach Master and that MR system kicks in, those losses fucking hurt. Because if you're even going 50-50, you're not climbing. You have to be winning more often than you are losing. This is where it gets more difficult, you know? This is where the learning curve really starts. Like, we could say, sure, like, learning curve, you know, you're learning combos and the dynamics of 2D fighters, you know, spacing, all this shit in these other ranks. But this is where that's like the biggest curve, I feel like. Like, once you reach Master, you mostly know your combos. You mostly know Oki. You mostly know, like, some defensive options. You know parts of them, but they're not, like, you just know bits and pieces. You don't have them all connected. You can't really connect them into a cohesive strategy. You're kind of still just going in ranked and pressing buttons trying to land combos. Like, the thought process is very limited. You're still kind of focused on the single player experience, on just landing a hit and going into combo, instead of like focusing on what your opponent wants to do. That barrier of entry is really rough to get past. Like, to start climbing into the higher MRs, you really have to start thinking about what the opponent's options are and what you can do to counter them, and not just their character, but them as a player. You have to start taking into account what their habits are as a human, and not just focusing on what you want to do in the game. That's very difficult for a lot of players to do. So this right here, this is rough. But I feel like this is also where you get those, you know, haha moments. Like, fuck, it all makes sense. Like, when it clicks, like spacing control, like limiting your opponent's options, when all that shit kind of clicks, it feels super rewarding, and then you start climbing really fast. But you have to stay down here in the fucking favelas for a long time while you figure that shit out. Like, you're stuck in the hood, bro. You're stuck for a minute. But once you make that breakthrough, progress is expedited. Like, just start shooting at the rings. Obviously, yeah, I'm not gonna say that if you're at these other ranks, you have a higher understanding of neutral. Bro, I play against people in like 2KMR Legend that have zero idea how to play neutral. But that's also where, you know, other factors start kicking in. Because that's not the only factor. That's not the only factor, you know? You could kind of, you know, quote unquote cheese your way up by just picking a character and, you know, that has steamrolly offense and just kind of turning the game into a single player experience either way. You could do that. A lot of people do. I feel like most people that climb up these ranks do. But then they're just kind of hard stuck, you know? There are players that are just forever landmines. They could cheese out a win here and there, but they're not going to have that consistency of like top players. But yeah, that I feel like that the jump from this rank to those, the biggest difference is outside of awareness of your opponent is also just cleaner mechanics. Your combos, if you land a hit, your combo's gonna come out, you're gonna land it. Your meaties are well timed. Your offense is good enough where you can, like, you know, go for consistent throw loops or bait out throws and punish throw whiffs on reaction. You could anti, like, a lot of this climb is also just mastering your mechanics. Because if your mechanics are sloppy, then you're just losing to yourself over and over and over and over again. You're not really getting to the meatier part of the game because you're just losing to your own mistakes.